Do you ever have one of those mornings where your brain is really foggy and dry and feels like it's wrapped in cotton, and you're staring at your screen, you're trying to think, trying to form a single coherent thought, and it's just not happening. Everything's fuzzy and blurry. And you feel like you're on the brink of insanity. Well, I'm here to tell you you're not crazy, first off. But most people don't realize that that foggy, scattered, I can't find the word I'm looking for feeling actually gets worse the longer your sleep is disrupted, the longer your circadian rhythm is disrupted. And it's not just because you're tired. That foggy and scattered, I can't find the word I'm looking for feeling is going to get worse the longer your circadian rhythm is off. And it's not just because you're tired, it's because your brain is literally skipping a cleanup crew moment at night. Your brain has this built-in system that detoxes, not just mental clutter, but even physical stuff, physical gunk while you are sleeping. So when your sleep is getting disrupted, when you're not sleeping enough, when it's constantly interrupted, when the quality is not there, all of that mental and physical trash just piles up day after day after day. But I don't want you to panic, because today we're going to talk about some ways that can help you, right? So even if your sleep isn't perfect, there are some real simple things that you can do today to clear that brain fog and to feel more like yourself again. So we're going to look at the science, some root causes, some gentle, natural, and holistic fixes. So let's talk about what is really going on with brain fog and what you can do about it today. So what is brain fog really, right? It's not just this feeling of feeling tired, right? It's not just needing more coffee or caffeine or needing to focus. Brain fog is a real physiological experience, and it's something I hear from my clients and patients all of the time, right? It's that sluggish, hard to pin down feeling where you feel so slow and you can't find the word you're looking for. You keep rereading the same sentence or paragraph over and over and over again, maybe even the same word. You walk into a room, you forget why you're there. Your brain feels just foggy, like it's trying to stare through this steamed up window. And it can feel very disheartening, right? And I want you to know that it's not a character flaw and it's not a lack of motivation. It's a neurological slowdown, kind of like a lag in your brain's ability to process and connect. But it's oftentimes due to neuroinflammation, which doesn't have to be a permanent thing. And that just means your brain's a little inflamed, it's a little overwhelmed, and it might be running on low power. This can be triggered by all kinds of things, from stress to hormonal shifts to chronic illnesses, a lack of sleep, nutrient deficiencies, and so much more. So if you feel like your brain isn't firing like it used to, or maybe you're operating at like 40 to 60% of your capacity, it's not in your head, it's not because you're getting older, it's not because you're super unhealthy. We can work with this. So a lot of the time it tends to be sleep and inflammation are at the root of all of this. So here's where things really start to click into place. Because when we talk about your sleep and brain fog, it's not just about rest, right? It's about removal. So your brain doesn't just need rest at night. It absolutely cleans itself out. And there's an entire system in your brain called the glymphatic system. And this is, like we were mentioning earlier, your brain's overnight cleaning crew. The really cool part about this is it's only really active when you're in that deep, restful sleep. Even if you're sleeping all night long, but you're not getting into that deeper level of sleep, you might still have that neuroinflammation. You might still feel like crap the next day, and you might still struggle with all of that brain fog. So during that time, your brain cells actually allow this fluid to flow through them and carry out these toxic waste products that build up every single day. So think of it like janitors coming into a school after hours, and they're sweeping up everything that's piled up, and they're taking out the mental trash. So these are going to pull things out like excess glutamate, which can overstimulate your brain or trigger anxiety and brain fog, or amyloid proteins, which have been linked to cognitive decline when they're not properly cleared out of the brain, and just everyday inflammatory waste that contributes to that brain fog and that sluggishness. So when your sleep is super fragmented, it's shallow, or you're pulling all-nighters or night shifts, which I know some of you can't help, I understand. But long term, it care about you and I want you to know the effect that it can have on your health, because you deserve better than that, right? Because you deserve better than just working yourself into an early grave. So I want you guys to know so that you can make informed decisions for your body. So that cleanup process essentially isn't going to happen in that case. And over time, the clutter builds and builds and builds and builds. And the longer your sleep stays disrupted, the more there is, right? It becomes this mountain of gunk, of trash that's lingering in your brain. And that's why brain fog doesn't just go away after one single nap or after coffee or when you try to catch up on sleep on the weekends. Because your brain needs regular, consistent, real deep sleep in order to detox, right? So it's not just to recharge your battery. And this is why we don't just physically feel tired after poor sleep. We feel heavy, slow, disconnected, sometimes even emotionally on edge or numb. And I feel like once you start to understand that, you know, it's easier to not blame yourself for not being able to push through that brain fog or push through those more difficult days. Because let's be honest about it. Having the willpower, that's not what it comes down to, right? It's about biology. What actually happens when we miss sleep? If we skip a night or maybe sleep 5 instead of 7 hours. Let's start with short-term effects, because these are going to typically be felt faster. So after one single night of poor fragmented sleep, everything in your system really starts to slow down. So you might notice things like slower reaction times. Maybe you're having trouble focusing or remembering simple things. Again, you're going to feel foggy, having trouble finding the word that you're looking for. Your vocabulary is out of reach. Maybe it's super stunted as well. It might feel like you're having this constant hum of irritability or overstimulation, like you could snap at anything. And then you also get this super scatterbrained feeling where your thoughts just won't slow down or won't hold still. And even though you may be really trying to keep up with your day, your brain's capacity just isn't there. And then you feel even more overloaded and overwhelmed. So it's kind of like running your phone battery when there's 5% left and you're wondering why all of the apps keep crashing, even though you're trying to keep like 20 different apps that are super heavy on that battery open. So when sleep deprivation becomes a pattern, whether it's because of stress or illness or caregiving or your work or even chronic insomnia, it starts to affect more than just energy. And over time, that poor sleep increases inflammation, which will in turn start to throw off your hormones, which in turn disrupts the communication between your gut and your brain, which plays a huge role in memory, in your mood regulation, in clarity, and emotional regulation. And that mental fog, it's not just because you're tired, right? It's this cumulative weight of sleep debt that builds up over time and weighs on every single system in your body. Your brain's not lagging because it's lazy. It's lagging because it's overworked, because it's under-rested, because it's doing the best that it can without the proper fuel that it needs. But this is something we can work with, right? So sleep debt, absolutely reversible. That brain fog, absolutely reversible. So even before your sleep improves, there are still ways that you can support your brain and bring back some of that clarity. So that's what we're going to talk about next, is some simple ways that you can start beginning to clear that clutter and clear that fog, even if you're still struggling with deep sleep. So the most important part of your day, breakfast. I know some people are like, don't eat breakfast, don't eat breakfast. I say eat breakfast, make it high protein and make it healthy fat. So your brain doesn't just run on willpower, right? It runs on fuel, and you need proper healthy fats and proper healthy proteins to fuel it. And one of the fastest ways to stabilize that brain fog, especially if you didn't get sleep last night, is to eat protein and fat within 1 to 2 hours of waking, because that protein is going to help to build up those neurotransmitters like dopamine and acetylcholine, which help support things like clearing that brain fog and your memory and motivation. And healthy fats like eggs or avocados or chia seeds, nuts and seeds, those are going to support brain structure and blood sugar balance, so you're not crashing a couple of hours after you have breakfast, right? We want to keep stable energy throughout the day. So you can have something simple like a smoothie that has a little bit of fruit, some protein powder, and some nut butter. Or you can even have like one slice of toast with some eggs, some turkey sausage or bacon. Just make sure that you're focusing more on the proteins and fats, and kind of, I'm not a proponent of completely eliminating carbs, but I do think it's important to kind of minimize them to an extent. Again, numbers are going to be different for everyone, right? Number 2 is going to be short bursts of movement in your mornings. You don't have to do a full workout in order to boost your energy or your brain to lift that brain fog. 2 to 5 minutes, whether that's yoga, stretching, a short walk before breakfast, that's all you need. You don't have to have like a 30-minute HIIT class or go do CrossFit or go run 10 miles. That's all good and great and fantastic for the people that do, but it's not necessary to fix the brain fog issue, right? So when we put these movement systems in place in our mornings, they start to increase oxygen and circulation into our brains, which helps to wake up those sleepy neural pathways, support lymphatic flow, which our lymphatic system clears inflammation, clears toxins, which again is starting to build up if you're not sleeping properly, right? If your body's struggling to get that quality sleep. Number 3, you want to hydrate with minerals, not straight water. Brain fog is tremendously made worse by dehydration and actually can also give you horrid migraines. So especially when it comes to electrolytes. So what I typically do is add a pinch of sea salt or maybe a couple of drops of trace minerals in the morning to my water. It's going to depend on how much sleep I got the night before. Electrolytes support that clear thinking, but it also supports your adrenal function. And your adrenal function is going to suffer the next day if you did not get quality sleep the night before. So reaching for another cup of coffee, taxing on your adrenals, taxing on your hormones, taxing on your stress system. So you want to support it with something like hydration with electrolytes so that you're really supporting not only like your overall circulation and cells, but the brain and its ability to think and power through your day. Number 4, you want to take low sensory breaks. So when we don't get enough sleep, our brain typically feels overstimulated and kind of like our body's buzzing or vibrating because we're having so much sensory overload, especially for sensitive nervous systems, people who have adrenal fatigue or chronic illnesses or HPA axis dysfunction, dysregulated nervous systems. Too much light, sound, or even information can make it even worse and make it more difficult for you or for them to think clearly, right? So try to take short, low sensory breaks throughout your day. So that can look like pausing during your workday for 3 minutes to just take some deep breaths, or doing one of our EFT tapping sessions on our channel. You can lay down and do a short 5 to 10 minute yoga nidra, listen to some soft nature sounds, go outside and walk in the sun for a few minutes. Anything that is distracting you from what you were previously doing, but not bombarding your senses. You don't want to go outside for a walk and get exercise in the bright sun while blasting really loud music in headphones and eating at the same time and also trying to have a conversation. Too much overload, right? We want to tone it down, just engage a few senses, not all of them at the same time. And another one that is really calming if you're really overstimulated by light and sound, put some earplugs in and palm your eyes. So literally just gently cup your palms over closed eyes and take some deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. All of this is going to signal to your brain to downshift from that high alert mode. It's going to help regulate your nervous system and help you to feel grounded so that you don't feel so overloaded, anxious, sensitive, and foggy. Number 5 is to consider herbs and supplements that are going to support your brain. These aren't things that you have to take every single day, but they might benefit you on the days when you didn't get enough quality sleep. So without fail, the first go-to for me is a multivitamin with methylated B vitamins. Personally, for me, my nervous system is too sensitive to take a whole multivitamin, so I like split the cap open and just do about half, mix it in some water, and slowly sip on that throughout the day. What that does for me, it's slowly getting it into my system so that it's not even more overstimulated by a supplement. Lion's mane is another good one that helps to support your nervous system and nerve regeneration and memory. You can also try L-theanine, which is going to kind of calm the system down, but it doesn't feel like you're sedated, right? So I want to also make it clear that these aren't necessarily prescriptions, right? I'm not telling you to go out and get these things. I'm educating you on some ways that you can assist your brain in a friendly and gentle way, right? So always check with your provider first before you start any new routines, any new supplements. I want you to have the information, right? I don't want you to have to wait until everything is perfect before you feel better, before you start to have that brain fog lift, before you get quality sleep. And even when your sleep is rocky, there are, these little things that you can do throughout the day that help to lift that brain fog in the meantime, right? We don't want to force you to focus too much on 10 different things to improve your system and to improve your sleep and brain fog. Nourish that clarity, feed it gently, one moment at a time, and your brain's going to thank you and reward you for that. And you'll notice it when the brain fog really starts to lift. So let's take a step back, or like a few steps, and look at this from a functional medicine perspective, because brain fog is not just about sleep, right? It's not just about that insomnia. It's often a whole body conversation. So when we look at brain fog through that lens, what we're usually doing is we're seeing a few core contributors to that brain fog, right? We've already mentioned inflammation, like neuroinflammation, but whole body systemic inflammation, chronic low-grade inflammation, whether it's stress, hidden infections, certain foods, viral activations, chronic illnesses, can slow down brain signaling, right? It can feel like static in your brain and just kind of like the wires aren't functioning. Detox issues. So this is systemic detox issues. So your liver and your lymphatic system help to clear toxins and clear metabolic waste. But if those are clogged up for some reason, they're sluggish, overloaded, your detox pathways aren't working properly, it's like trying to walk into a hoarder's room and mop the floor. It's not going to happen. Nutrient deficiencies can also play a big role in this. Your brain needs certain nutrients to function at full capacity, like B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, healthy fats. And this is why one of the first things I recommended in terms of supplements was a multivitamin. So if you're low in these, which is more common than you think, your brain might be trying to run a marathon without fuel. So think about having to run 26 miles, but you didn't eat breakfast that morning. You didn't take water with you. That's not going to go very well, right? And nutrition matters so much for clear thinking. It's not just about energy, right? It gives you the fuel for your brain to think. One that I don't hear a lot of people talk about is gut-brain dysfunction. So your gut and your brain are in constant communication, right? Through this thing that we call the vagus nerve, and through neurotransmitters, and through the microbiome. So if your digestive tract is inflamed, or it's leaky, or it's imbalanced, what it's going to do is send stress signals to your brain, which in turn can trigger that brain fog, trigger that anxiety, and even depression. So you don't have to fix it all at once, right? But it helps to know that it's not all in your head, right? Because that's how I felt for a long time when I was in the throes of my chronic illness and I was bedridden for almost a year. Like I thought, oh God, it's me, it's all in my head, but it really wasn't. Sometimes it's in your gut, sometimes it's your hormones, sometimes your mitochondria. So if you feel like that brain fog is lingering, even if you're getting good sleep, even if you're getting that hydration, even if you've tried some of the supplements we've mentioned and you've tried healthy habits, I would bet it's time to dig a little deeper with a practitioner who's trained in root cause medicine. So testing things like your nutrient levels, inflammation markers, blood sugar regulation, gut health. These things can bring clarity and create that customized plan. Again, that's not a step everybody needs to take or even has to take. I know it can be a really big financial decision for people. I do want to say that some people do offer payment plans, like myself included. And remember that there's no rush in this, right? I know you think, oh God, I don't feel good. I have to get better quickly. Let me tell you, the faster you try to change and get better, if you have a sensitive system, your body's going to retaliate quicker. We have to take our healing journeys and our bodies slowly when we're going through detox processes or we're trying new things, whether it's lifestyle medicine, whether it's supplements or dietary changes. My recommendation to the majority of my patients and clients, and even myself, right, has always been, you don't have to fix everything today. Pick one thing to focus on, and we'll start there. Maybe look at one thing from today's video, whatever feels the most doable to you. Again, always check with your provider because these are educational videos, but maybe it's adding some protein. Maybe it's adding some healthy fat to breakfast. Maybe it's like a short mid-morning stretch an hour after breakfast. Maybe it's stepping outside for a breath of fresh air for 2 to 5 minutes after every meal, right? Give your brain those quiet moments, sometimes to reset throughout your day, to clear that gunk and clutter. It's not only going to help you throughout the day to lift the brain fog, but it's also going to prepare you for more improved sleep the next night. So if you do want more support with relieving brain fog and associated symptoms, go ahead and look in the description box below. I have links to our website, to our coaching sessions and services, as well as our virtual clinic. And if you're craving connection as you are working on your journey, come join us inside the garden, which is our free community where we talk all about regulating your nervous system, as well as holistic mind-body wellness. If you did enjoy this video, go ahead and like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let us know which one you're trying first in the comments below, and we will see you in the next video.